right, now he's joining us. He's Sean T. McGuire of Nesson.com, a.k.a. S-Mac, a.k.a. S-Mizzle. Sean,
easy.
appreciate you joining us. Man, how much did you enjoy this Sunday that you didn't have to watch the Patriots?
Oh, man, it's George, I've long said that the best Sunday you could have is when your team wins on Thursday night or their bye week. And it's just, for the Patriots to be off, for us to not have to go through that again and again. It was beautiful.
Did Cowboys bye week too or no?
I'm so tuned out on the Cowboys now. That was in a past life, George.
That's called resignation. He is resigned to the outcome of
That's
the Cowboys.
his fault, George. He should have never been a Cowboys fan. I could have told him that from the jump.
From the get. All right, so let's talk about a little state of the roster and some players we want to see make some progress. So what the Patriots do have moving forward long term, a franchise quarterback, so we see. I mean, he checks all the boxes from just sheer one-season sample size, but we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yes.
They need number one receiver. They need 4 out of 5 starting spots on the offensive line. Most importantly, a left tackle.
Yep.
They need linebackers. They need a premier edge rusher. They need deeper room of cornerbacks. They need a deeper wide receiving room.
Yep.
They need safety help safety help. Del Pettis is a good piece. And we'll get into the total. If you go through their entire roster, like the blue chips, there's the Christian Gonzalez's and the Drake Mays.
Yep.
I give them 18 players out of a 53-man roster you can move forward and build your team with. And some of those aren't good, like a Jalen Polk, a Javon Baker, a Layden Robinson. But we'll get into that. First, I want to start with the offensive side of the ball. Sean, Trav, you guys are the guests on this one. I'll bring you in first. Sean, who is an offensive player you want to see make a leap over the last 4 games of the season, or just keep doing what they're doing and show that progress you could carry into the offseason?
Yeah, I'm going to go. It's not the sexiest pick. I'm like so tuned out on the wide receivers at this point that I'm not going to go with the wide receiver. I'm going to go with Layden Robinson. And I just think it's one of those you just talked about. They have 4 needs out of 5 players on the offensive line. And, their best player on the offensive line is right guard, Mike Onwenu, obviously. So just to see Layden Robinson come along, we've talked about it a lot. Obviously, he was a right guard in college. But to see him come along, get some snaps at left guard, he played their last game against the Colts. And definitely just a much improved start for him, I thought. And I talked to him a little bit after the game and said, kind of what's your level of comfort? What's that sort of, how do you feel about that? And I'll just kind of read you the quote. He said, I feel like I'm real comfortable, just getting better. Everything is new, but I'm learning it. That's the best part of it. It's a new challenge. And when you're uncomfortable, it forces you to learn something and broaden your horizons. I'm just going to keep getting better. So I thought that was a great way of looking at it. It certainly was not what Chuck Secorifor answered that same question in the spring. So that's something of note. But yeah, so I think I'm really looking to hit Layden Robinson, and it does have a lot to do with Onwenu, and just with the amount of needs that they have on the offensive line. If Layden Robinson can come along and really look like a left guard of the future, really, I think that solves a key position on that offensive line.
Especially, again, out of all the guys you look starting up front, you'd bring one back. Maybe 1 or 2 others would be on rosters. And Layden Robinson, started at right guard the first 4 weeks of the season, was benched, would come back in spot starts, would get benched sometimes after returning to lineup. Then all of a sudden, week 13, gets thrust in a left guard spot. I love that you point that out of making that flip. But that's where how can this offensive line, if Layden Robinson can be serviceable, if Mike Onwenu can get back to being Mike Onwenu, if Cole Strange possibly works out at center, we'll see, or David Andrews returns, but I don't know how much he has left in the tank, then via free agency / draft, you figure out left and right tackle spot.
Yep.
All of a sudden, that's what's crucial. And they could explore free agency, like a Trey Harris from Kansas City to be a left guard. And then you figure out maybe Layden Robinson right guard, Mike Onwenu right tackle. There's so much flexibility. Yeah, you're right. It's not the sexiest, but it's a good spot to look at. I'm the same with Mike Onwenu. But Trav, what about for you, a player on offense you want to see over the last 4 weeks of the season?
As always, I'm on the same page as S. Measy. He says he's checked out of wide receivers, and I completely understand why. How the hell could you not?
Yep.
But that's exactly where I'm going, and I'm going Jalen Polk because, look, I'm going to give you a slight pass because you are a rookie. At the same time, on this staff, I think he missed a really big opportunity, guys. and I said this on draft night. I remember George saying, this is a bit of a reach for this guy. You could have probably got him later than what they did. Mm-hmm. And I remember my rebuttal to George at that time was, maybe, but if I'm the kid, I am salivating at the opportunity to play for the Patriots, particularly when Drake May gets in. At that time, we didn't know when, right? But particularly when Drake May gets in, because I can grow with that quarterback. And these other wide receivers around me in this room suck, outside of Pop Douglas. So I can shine in this. And he has missed an opportunity because he did nothing, okay? So what I want to see with this guy, with the rest of the games left, can you matter at all? Like, I have to imagine, even though I spent the segment before you got here, S. Mizzle, calling this coaching staff a bunch of morons, I have to imagine that this coaching staff, now with the handful of games left, will put him in position to play and get opportunities, and we'll draw some things up, and we'll give you some targets. Go cook, or can you not? So that's what I'm looking to see. From Polk this season, 12 catches, 87 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
That's awful.
That's a half of football for a really good wide receiver, okay? You suck, kid. So the rest of the way out, can you matter? Can you show me that you even exist?
Yeah.
If he can do that, I'll feel a little bit better moving into next season. If he's going to do what he's done all season, which is nothing, then I can't go in the next season feeling good about him and Javon Baker, who's also done nothing.
Yep.
It's wasted draft picks. It's wasted roster spots. And how long have we sat around here in this town and waited for a Tyquan Thornton or waited for – you're waiting for nothing, bro. So you got to show me something. And by the way, when your team sucks this bad, gentlemen, you are playing for pride. I know we laugh at that cliche, but it's true. So I just want to see if this Jalen Polk kid has any fight, has any dog in him. That's what I'm looking for the rest of the way.
And you were right. Like, yes, I had that reaction. They trade back. It's even more damning that the Chargers took a Ladd McConkey.
Right.
Now, and it's a thing of like, well, Ladd in the system with Justin Herbert, Ladd was more pro-ready coming out of Georgia.
Yeah.
You can say Jalen Polk has a higher ceiling. Jalen Polk's not even a usable wide receiver.
Right.
Ladd McConkey heading into week 14, the 3 weeks prior, was second in the NFL with receiving yards at 323 on 21 catches. Patriots wide receivers over the same span. Wide receivers, 28 catches, 367 yards. Jalen Polk, over that same span, just 3 targets. That's all he's gotten. And it's a guy that's still out there running the wrong routes, not fully running his routes even. Like, great Austin Hooper catch we saw against the Colts. Jalen Polk needed to keep running his route into the corner of the end zone or possibly sail across the back. Instead, he settled. And I'm like, is that as Drake May says it, is that the for love of the game route? But he settles and turns around. Kid, the ball's not coming your way. Like, Drake, unbelievable touch and throw by Drake May. Unbelievable catch by Austin Hooper, who's been absolute nails. But Jalen Polk himself could have blown up such a positive play that puts him on the doorstep of scoring. And that's Jalen Polk's just been a net negative, as is Javon Baker. And his kick returns haven't been good, and he can't see the field. And that's what's tough at that spot where you trade back, could have had a Ladd McConkey, or at that part at 37, you could have gotten a right tackle, a good, if not even a left tackle on the spot, a good right tackle that maybe could be starting for you now.
That's right.
Instead of DeMontre Jacobs. My offensive player to watch is Mike Onwenu. I said it before, but it is just, can you continue to be solid? Can you continue to be good? And just be the one anchor in this offensive line that they have, the one positive note. You're not going to get it from Vidarian Lowe, definitely not DeMontre Jacobs. I'm interested out of the bye what happens with Cole Strange if he slots in at center. That would be another player to watch. But with the wide receivers, I think Pop Douglas is what he is. Running backs, I think Ramondre Stevenson is what he is, which is good. Drake May, not worried about him. Let's just keep seeing him make leaps and cut down on turnovers, I suppose, but he's awesome. This offensive line, what is good? What is consistent? What can you look at and be positive about? Because even Mike Onwenu in certain spots is claiming he didn't hear adjustments and audibles. Like, you are the vets.
That's
You're
right.
the guy that just got an extension. All the guys that got extensions, Kyle Duggar has looked lost on defense.
Yes.
Mike Onwenu hasn't been his safe self. up front. Ramondre Stevenson had the fumbling issues. These guys that gave these contracts too, when they had all that cash to burn, instead they chose to keep extending these guys in their building. They haven't gotten the ROI on that yet. If you're joining this conversation, once again, please remember to check out Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Our friend Michael Lombardi joins the show on Fridays. Normally Mondays are game recaps. Wednesdays, always draft previews as well. That is Foxborough Rush. You can watch on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and you can listen along Spotify, Apple, and Amazon, wherever else you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well. All right, now to get to defense. Sean, who's a defensive player you're watching over the last 4 weeks?
So I'm going to go with a position group more than a player. I guess it's only 2 players really, but I'm going to go with corners outside of Christian Gonzalez. So specifically Alex Austin and Marcus Jones. I just think like during the offseason, we kind of entered the year thinking that the Patriots cornerback group was like arguably their deepest on the entire roster. And over the last, especially 6 or 8 last weeks, it's not been good. And, a big part of that is Jonathan Jones taking a step back. Marcus Jones hasn't been great either. And I just think it's, it would be a really big thing for the Patriots to have someone like Alex Austin kind of step in, these last 4 weeks and show that he's, a good second corner, opposite of Christian Gonzalez. He had a really good game against the Colts. And, so maybe it's a little recency bias, but he also spent the majority of the year on IR. So there's not a huge sample size from Alex Austin this year. And I just think, it's like, George, I know you said a ton when you talk about the draft and the corners coming out of the draft, the size and how important the size is. And Alex Austin has it, 6'1", 190.
Bingo.
So he has more of that skill set to guard, those outside wideouts. And I'm not trying to say the Patriots, if Alex Austin plays well, then the Patriots won't need to address or bring in anyone at all. Like, I don't think that's the case. I just think it takes it lessens the priority. If someone like Alex Austin was to come in these last 4 weeks and really play well.
Trav, what about for you?
I went Jabril Peppers.
Again, secondary.
Yeah, but, specifically for him because he's, allegedly your leader. You need him to perform well the rest of the way because he is your leader. And, we know there's a cloud hanging over him off the field that is supposedly going to be resolved in January. Well, week 17 and 18, you're smack dab in January. Yeah. So, it is a distraction. I know people tiptoe around it and, we're just going to let it play out in the court system and all that stuff. Okay, great. But literally, it is a distraction for your team. Okay, so there's no way around that. And so if you're going to be a distraction with what you have going on off the field in our season, it's at the end of the season, but we know what happened when the incident happened. That was smack dab in the middle of the season. And in fact, if you gentlemen remember, when that happened with Peppers, it opened up the floodgates, did it not? We started getting some off-the-field things from everyone else. I don't think that's a coinky-dink when your leader gets in trouble, okay? Yeah. So the rest of the way out, down the stretch, boy, if you have a distraction off the field that you brought during the season as a distraction, you better ball out. Yeah. You better ball out. And you better lead. Mm-hmm. So I'm watching him. He's been playing well, so I'm not taking shots here since he's been back. But I need another level. I need him to continue to play well and then go another level, not only on the field, but in leadership.
I think in leadership, I think on the field he is what he is, which is a good player. Yeah. At this stage in his career, it'll be tough to see him take another step forward, but to be that guy. I'm going Kyle Duggar. So just like all three of us are looking at the secondary and going, you have a gem. Yeah. You have a cornerstone piece in Christian Gonzalez. You have that good piece up front, 2 good pieces in Christian Barmore and Keon White. You need to add around him. Someone has to help out Christian Gonzalez. Someone has to help out, and that has to be a Jabril Peppers. A Kyle Duggar who, you're dealing with an ankle, but just between the ears, and a guy that's really solid, really good, and I love him as a player, has looked lost on the field. Part of that to me is DeMarcus Covington. What are you doing? What's going on there? The other part of that is Kyle Duggar. Why are you not getting these calls? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because Kyle Duggar was the guy between him and Christian Gonzalez had the miscommunication on that DK Metcalf long touchdown catch where it was just a blown coverage, and he said it. That's on me not getting the call. Okay, cool. We're 10 weeks, 11 weeks later in the season, and you're still getting lost on the field. What's going on there? Sean, I like to point out on Alex Austin, hey, I'm going to say I like the big corners, 6'1". Late round gem the Patriots got to watch for, and for college football fans and Patriots fans, when you're watching the college football playoff, Dalen Everett of Georgia. 2 interceptions against Texas, was fantastic in pass coverage. 6'1", like Alex Austin, 190, 4.3 speed. That's a guy you could get late in the draft and you can progress. But if a guy like an Alex Austin, and if a guy like a Jabril Peppers and a Kyle Duggar are stepping up around a Christian Gonzalez, you can wait and take a Dalen Everett later in the draft instead of going with a Will Johnson or a Travis Hunter or a Denzel Burke earlier on in the draft, where if those guys, that's what's important. Can you find the guys in your building? And I alluded to it. I'll bring up the list. I have it. Oh, it's in my notes. Wrong screen. On defense, and tell me if you think I'm missing anyone. Christian Gonzalez, Christian Barmore, Keon White. These are guys I would keep and build
that you would
around.
keep. Okay.
Kyle Duggar, Marcus Jones, Anthony Jennings. Jonathan Jones, again, to your point, Trav, I think it's more leadership.
Sure.
Devon Godshaw, Jelani Tavai, and Del Pettis. That's 10 guys on defense. That's not terrible. I would add an Alex Austin. I left an Alex Austin off on that. On offense, Drake May.
Yep.
And then there's a drop-off. Mike Onwenu, Mondre Stevenson, Pop Douglas, David Andrews. We'll see what's happening with him. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. And then you get into like Layden Robinson. They're not going to give up on him or Jalen Polk or Javon Baker.
Drek.
There's like 7 players on offense I'd confidently keep for next season.
Jesus.
One of them is an 2 are offensive linemen. I don't know what David Andrews' future holds.
7? You'd keep 7?
That's 7. That's around 17, 18 players I just named. Out of 53, that's bad. That is bad.
I ain't got that many.
And George, just for your point, you just touched on the David Andrews thing too. I think that's an important one, and I think that's almost why like Layden Robinson needs to play left guard. And if Cole Strange returns, then you got to put him at center, because I really just think it comes down to like you have a much better chance of Layden Robinson being the left guard of the future than you do of Ben Brown being the center of the future. So at that point, why wouldn't you kind of, start taking those steps? You're talking about, making progress and developing, and, we need to see what this team holds at this point. I just think like that's one of those kind of positions that specifically stick out when you're talking about it.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And it's, again, like the gaps that can be filled. If a Cole Strange can step in and be a center, who's your left guard? All right, you just have to find a solution to 2 spots. And can you go out and in free agency, if you get a left tackle, then in the draft, you can get a right tackle, which you'd get later in the draft because it's not as coveted. And then when you have that first round pick, then it allows you, do you do a Travis Hunter, a Tate McMillan? When you have a top 3 pick, the world is your oyster.
Sure.
And because this could be a weak quarterback draft, but you cannot disagree with how good a Cam Ward is or how good a Shedeur Sanders is and teams' willingness to trade up. What makes it interesting is the 2 teams in front of the Patriots as of right now. Raiders are 1, Giants are 2, Patriots are 3. 1, that's Shedeur Sanders. 2, that's Cam Ward. And then all of a sudden the Patriots are just sitting there at 3 and going, all right, I guess we go with Kelvin Banks.
Oh, come on.
Hey, you never know how dumb a team may be. Or not, I don't want to say dumb, but how crazy a team would be. Let's say this. You never know how dumb the Cowboys will be to want to trade up to 3 to take Travis Hunter.
Oh, God. Here we go. Smeezy, can you talk some sense into this guy that the Patriots pick 3 and those 2 damn quarterbacks are off the board? Because I agree with him. I think it would be Shedeur and Cam Ward. Please tell this man that the Patriots are not that dumb and they will take Travis Hunter. Can you please tell him that?
I think they're going to go offensive line as well. I did think it was interesting that
it was my favorite episode ever. Trav's leaving.
It's just the Athletics' Dane Brugler, when he was just released his mock draft, he kind of put it about as clear as you could that Travis, I almost call this Travis Thomas.
You should.
That Travis Hunter is the only player that would be a top 10 pick last year. So I thought that was, pretty interesting, but I still do think, if that happens, I think, maybe the Patriots trade back and then they go after, Will Campbell or Kellen Bakes at, 6, 8, 10, one of those different spots. I also think that there's a pretty good chance that the Patriots are not picking third when it all boils down to it, and they could land 1, 2, one of those picks and trade out to one of those teams trying to get a quarterback. So
what is going on?
Thank you, Jay, for zooming out. Listen,
are you going to pour beer in that and drink?
No,
out of it?
I'm warning y'all right now. Okay, this is a warning, and I know we on. Put this on tape. Listen, if both of you think for a second that the Patriots pick third and Travis Hunter's on that board, and they take a damn offensive lineman or some other moron from some other university, anything that says any name other than Travis Hunter, if you think for a second I won't throw this big-ass shoe at you, because I wear 13s, so this going to hurt upside your head. I promise you. I will chuck my shoes at the both of y'all, because this will be your fault. You two sitting up here saying, well, if they pick at 3, they could trade back, or maybe they just take it offensive line. No! You are putting this into the ether. You both should be ashamed of yourself. If they pick third and Travis Hunter's on the board and they don't take Travis Hunter, I'm blaming you. And these shoes upside your head is on your hands.
You ready for this, T? I let Sean speak first. I am a grateful host. I always let my guests speak first. If the Patriots sign T. Higgins, draft Travis Hunter third overall. Because you have that wide receiver 1. You have a DeMario Douglas. Get another receiver via free agency and go again with a weapon in the draft. But Travis Hunter slots in perfectly to be a corner opposite of Christian Gonzalez. And then on money downs, third down, the red zone, a kid with his athletic ability, his ridiculous hands and catch radius, it's something the offense needs. Then you bring in a Travis Hunter. Trav?
I don't give a damn if they sign. I want them to sign T. Higgins. Okay?
Sign T. Higgins,
but
draft
if they
Travis Hunter.
don't,
you still want them to draft.
Bro, if they don't, you need them more. What are we talking about?
You know what? In a draft that had Brian Thomas Jr. go 25th overall, if you had a guy like that, you already had a wide receiver 1. You take him 3. That's where the Jaguars screwed up, A, by winning. Thank you, Mac Jones. But B, that they had this perfect. But that's where the Jaguars screwed up themselves, where they could have got something they need like that. Patriots don't have that they don't have that luxury, Trav.
I'm chucking shoes. I'm just telling you now. If they don't go him at 3 and they do what y'all talking about, shoe coming at you.
I'm putting PTO in the day right after the draft. That's what I'm doing. And I'm working remote the day of the draft, so I'm not sitting across from you in the Patriots.
It's a big shoe,
back.
George.
Size 13s. Hey, Sean, appreciate you joining and take the time as always. Enjoy the rest of your bye week, Sean, and the Cowboys.
Yeah, you also enjoy the rest of your bye week.